What's going on, beautiful people of YouTube? It's Renebean. Welcome to another episode of Life of a Game Hunter / Collector. I got some money out in that shop that needs to be made. I got some Sega CDs that I have been putting off for a while. I finally got some interchangeable fuse holders in, and that's what I'm going to be working on. So if you do not know how to change a fuse out in your Sega CD, I'm going to show you how to do that. But not only just change the fuse out, I'm going to show you how to mod it to where you can put an interchangeable holder in there to if the fuse pops again, it's easily changed. So that's something we're going to be working on today. Real quick, I did get a package in from a Mr. Jeremy. Me and him did a trade. This is an extension cable that I will be using for my TurboGrafx 16. Thank you very much for this. If you do not know already, to anybody watching, TurboGrafx has a extremely short controller cord. That's going to come in handy big time. He needed some Wii stuff. I sent that to him. He sent that to me. Very awesome. But enough jabbering. Let's get out there. Let's get to work. Let's make some money. Alright guys, we are in the shop. As you can tell, we got a little bit of rain going on. Luckily it's not construction, it might go in and out, so expect to hear that. What I am going to teach you guys today is how to change the fuse on a Sega CD, but not just change the fuse, we're actually going to mod it to where it has an interchangeable fuse. I ordered these on eBay, they're fairly cheap. I believe this is a 2.5 amp fuse at 125 volts, I could be mistaken, I'll link it. And this is just an interchangeable fuse holder right here. And the reason that I want to do this is because whenever I sell these things, I always like to list that the specific power adapter you're supposed to use, because sometimes people will mix them up and they'll pop the fuse. They'll pop the fuse, you know, instantly. And this way, if your fuse ever does pop again, if you ever have a power surge or something like that that causes the fuse to pop, it's easily interchanged. You don't have to have any soldering skills. It's something that's very easily done. It's not going to cost you much of anything. So first steps first is we got to take this thing apart. Sega CDs are pretty simple for the most part. We're going to grab, hopefully you guys like this new angle. I kind of raised the camera up and pointed it a little bit further down. I don't have much room on this table, but we're going to see how that works out. So let's flip this guy over, and we're going to start taking out these screws. Alright, so with these screws out, top should pop right off. There we go. Revealing the beautiful innards of the Sega CD. People don't realize there's a lot of empty space right here, and this is actually where our holder is going to go. It's going to go somewhere around this area to where it's just easily interchanged. You don't have to take none of this other stuff apart. And a lot of people have been asking me like, hey man, when are you going to get the Sega CDs done? So now is your chance. I'll put these up on, I don't know, I'll probably have some people hit me up on Instagram. I'll probably link it in Discord. Y'all will see this video. If you're interested in one, just let me know. So first steps first, I do need to turn on my air compressor because I want to blow these things out. Alright, so with that, these lasers are very delicate. I'm just going to kind of cover it with my hand as I get some of this dust out. Alright, don't want to go too crazy just yet. So now we got some more screws to take out to take this shielding plate off. Keep note of the wire attached to that screw right there. I believe that's going to act as a ground. And then this should pop. Oh, missing the screw. I always miss screws. That happens. I want to take these things apart every day now. There we go. Now we got the shielding plate off. This is an excellent opportunity if you wanted to change out the inner clock battery, which I don't have any on hand, so that is something I'm not going to do. But we are going to take the rest of this board out. Alright, so before you do anything else, make sure you remove all the ribbon cables right here, all the connectors. Be very careful with them, wiggle them back and forth. And then slide that back, and there you go, you have revealed the board. We can move this off to the side, be careful with it though, obviously that's the other half of the unit. Now depending on what model you have, the fuse can be in a different spot every time. Or not every time, but in a different spot depending on the board that you have. For this one here, I didn't even check to see which board we got. I was looking to see if I got any corrosion from the terminals at all, from the capacitors, I mean. Alright guys, so as I was saying, you have different variations of the Sega CD. The fuse is going to be different for a handful of them. For this one in particular, the fuse is right here. It's labeled F301. It's got a little pico fuse in there. We're going to desolder that one out. Alright, so with that fuse out, we're going to put in our holder here. The good thing about this is there's no polarity when it comes to a fuse. It's just a simple line of circuit, so it's not going to matter which direction we put this in, for this one at least. So let me go ahead and tin these wires up right here just so that we get a good attachment when it does go in. Alright, now we're just going to flip her over and solder our 2 points in spot here. That way it's nice and snug in there. Now I am noticing one thing about reassembly. I don't think this is going to be long enough, so we're going to elongate that wire. So I'm going to place this back in here and just kind of see how long I need. Yeah, so this isn't quite long enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to snip this, and then we're going to elongate the wire. And then we're going to strip these wires here, make sure not to get the plastic on the inside here. Alright, there's that, which is, I'm going to have this over here somewhere. This just ain't long enough to do, so probably should have measured before. That's alright. Get these pieces of plastic out. Alright, so I got some spare wire right here. This is what I'll use for both of them because I'll probably have the same issue with the other one. Alright, so before we do that, we're going to grab some heat shrink right here. And I want to have this completely protected since it's going right over the board. So we got 2. I'll get another 2 out for the other Sega CD. Alright, so all I'm going to do is slide this over the wires. Just like so. Need to cut this one a little too long. There we go. Now I'm just going to attach each wire. Kind of like a kid would tie their laces, the first thing you do. Sometimes I find grabbing a pair of needle nose protects your fingers from the splinters of a copper wire, which are never fun. Alright, I'm also going to add some solder to this just to make sure that that bond is good. With those mated and not burning me, we're going to slide that heat shrink right over. Heat shrink, this is all purely optional. Use some black tape if you got it, electrical tape. I'm just doing this because I like it to be a little bit more fancy. You can use butt end splices for all that matters. No, really. Alright. So with that over there, you can use a number of things for heat shrink. I'm just going to use this lighter. Voila. That's one protected cord. Let's do the other. Alright, next thing I do, I got to add the remaining pieces to this right here. So again, just going to slide our heat shrink over the other ends here. I'll do this pre-hand with the other one because I'm sure it's going to be too short. Alright guys, so as you can see, we elongated that. That way I'll have plenty of room out here. I want to put this, I'm going to weave this through here, making sure not to damage anything. We're going to throw those 2 screws in here, and I need to see how I'm going to have this mounted. And there we have it. That is the interchangeable fuse right here. All you got to do is unscrew this, throw your new fuse in, and this goes right on top. There you go. It's got a fuse in there. Now I don't want this to look too sloppy. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to see if I can't weave this around and kind of stabilize this somewhere. I think just like that actually would look pretty nice. The way I'm going to stabilize this is as basic as I can get. I'm just going to use some hot glue. Hot glue is easily removable. And there you have it, guys. Just a simple, I know this could be pulled up and removed if you don't want the glue there. It just keeps it from flopping around too much, and it still gives you room to change out the fuse if you need to. So I'm going to put this one back together. This one's done. We're going to open up the last one here and see if it has a different fuse location. That way you can kind of get a comparison if this wasn't the type that you had. Alright guys, next up, the other Sega CD. Let's go ahead and open this guy up. Make sure there ain't no disc. Tray's a little floppy. Oh, you just need to be blown out. You got dust and all sorts of crud everywhere. Let's see how nasty this thing looks on the inside. It don't look relatively too bad. Still blow all this out and get it nice and clean. So I can already tell this is a different model just for the fact you got the ribbon cable right here. Same procedure for the most part, except the fuse is going to be in a different location. So let's go ahead and remove off this shield. So you'll notice, like I said, we got this ribbon cable here. Let's go ahead and pull that out. And we're going to leave the CD drive right in its place. You got two wires right here held down by tape. You can desolder that way it's easier to move around. What I'm going to do is pull this tape up. Alright, there's that. Be really careful with that right there hanging off. Push this off to the side. Now with this one, the fuse was over here in this general location. It's not now. Let me go ahead and zoom in with the camera here. With this fuse, it's going to be on the back. It's going to be right here. It's going to be this rectangular square blob looking thing right beside this black capacitor. This one's actually, in my opinion, a little bit easier to get out. So with this one, I'm just going to try to remove as much solder as I can before I go yanking on it. Alright, there we go. We got it removed. That is the old fuse. I'm going to clean this one up with some isopropyl and throw a little bit of flux on there. And I'm going to glob up the seat right here for when I place the new wire lead. There we go. Now, like before, I'm going to go ahead and elongate this right here because I'm assuming it's not going to be long enough either. It would be... yeah, that would just be too short. Someone end up yanking that out most likely. So let's go ahead and add some length to this. Alright, we got that 10. We don't need that much length. I'm going to go ahead and cut some of it off here. And all we got to do is seat these down into the puddles that we made. Alright guys, my solder pad actually came off, so I got to reroute this, but I don't have to go far. If you follow this line all the way down, it goes right through this small capacitor and then right to here. So I'm going to solder that point right below it. I just got to add a good bit of solder to make sure she's going to hold, and I got to remove the old pad from the spot here. So as you can see, I globbed up right there. That's right where that foot connected. There we go. And I am going to add a little bit of hot glue to the back of this since that's not the normal spot. It's a little bit smaller. And I just don't want that flying off. There we go. Alright, so let's go ahead and seat this thing and see how it's going to look. Because this one, the wire is going to be on the base of it, so it's going to be a little bit different. Might stick up in some spots. Let me fix the camera here. Alright, now I can already tell with this metal shield right here, it's going to be a problem for this wire. But I bet I can bend this back a little bit. I don't have anything to cut it with, otherwise I would just cut it down here and completely remove that. Unless I got, let me see here. There we go. Now we kind of got like a hole for where the wires can go. I'm going to try to get that down just a little bit further. There we go. Awesome. Now we can slide this through. I'm trying to be careful with it so it doesn't come undone. I'm going to guide my wire right through that. And then let's go ahead and start assembling this back together. Don't forget your red power switch right here. Or your light. And I'm going to do the same that I did with the other one. I'm just going to guide this. I'm going to go ahead and throw a fuse in there before I forget. Don't want to have to take this thing back apart. Alright, we're just going to guide this down. And I'm going to throw some glue and spot here. And there you have it, guys. Just a simple, easy mod. Anybody can do this. Doesn't take much for soldering. You just got to get the pieces, which I will link if I can remember to do so, where I got the fuses. You can use the original Pico fuse if you want. This fuse works just fine. Just make sure you get it at the right amperage, which, like I said, these are 2.5s at 125 250s, and they work just fine. So let's go ahead and finish putting this back together and end this episode. Alright guys, there we have it. We have two Sega CDs. I'm going to probably clean up a little bit better before I say that they are available. I'm sure these will go fairly quickly. I've had a lot of people interested in them. But hopefully you out there learned how to do this. You know, I like making this series just because I like helping people. Whenever they go yard selling or flea market, you know, they come across broken consoles or get duped into one, they're most likely salvageable for the most part. So hopefully you learned something from this. You learned how to change your fuse out in your Sega CD if it's not working. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And as always, people out there in this beautiful world, take care and enjoy the rest of your day.